everyone, it's a going a gabba-doo.
It is not the Going Off podcast. Excuse me? What the fuck?
I said going a.
Going a. Oh shit, we could have a crossover.
Neb and Muse here for O&A Detox time once again. It's O&A Take Manhattan, like Friday the 13th Part 8.
No, what's that, I mean, no, that was good. I like that.
Thank you.
But also, I have a better one.
Okay.
What's that Mary-Kate and Ashley movie?
New York Minute.
New York Minute. This is O&A New York Minute.
But before we get into any of the business in New York and WNEW, after they left Boston, there's a couple housekeeping things to talk about with Compound Censored, with Anthony and Gavin and all that. So for whatever reason, the last time we talked about Gavin and his Penn State show getting canceled, I omitted a clip, probably for time, where a caller called up and was like, hey, this upcoming show you have in Queens, I tried to buy tickets for it, and it didn't tell me the location of it. And Gavin was like, well, yeah, you know, we need to do that, especially because the Penn State show just got canceled. We can't give the address up for the Queens event because Antifa is going to come and get that show canceled. Well, long story short, the Queens show got canceled anyway.
Yeah. They
rescheduled it for East Rutherford, New Jersey, and it got canceled again. So, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but this was part of the Cognitive Dissonance Tour. If anything, Anthony should be relieved, because I've seen some of his stand-up, and it's terrible. So, any reason for him to not actually have to perform in front of people?
Yeah.
I'm sure he was, not too hurt over that. The fight in studio between two of his people in his small circle came back and has been on the show recently.
I like to think that they were fighting as they came back in.
Oh, yeah, they returned fighting. They burst through the doors.
Like the Family Guy chicken bit.
Oh, God, yeah, the old chicken bit. So the guy who was throwing chairs and throwing microphones, he's back. And he uploaded the entire episode to his YouTube, so I was able to see it for free.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if Anthony was happy about that, but I was happy because I didn't have to, buy anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some clips from that episode because they talk about Bill Burr. And I don't think... We talked about Bill Burr a little bit on a recent episode about why Anthony is mad that Bill doesn't want anything to do with him professionally because his fans went and harassed Bill Burr's wife. So Bill recently did an interview on someone's show. I don't know. It's honestly not important. But Anthony's observations and comments about it are what I wanted to bring to the show.
I think it's a better time now for people who aren't white to be able to express what's really happening to them.
Pause.
Right. Happening to them?
Like, I need this shit. What the
but
fuck
I was
is
watching,
Bill
and
talking
I'm
about?
not shitting on you, but I was watching
yes, you are.
something about something, and then somehow there was an interview with you interviewing Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
And he basically said the same thing where he's like, you asked him about comedy, about everyone's like PC, and he said the same thing where like now trans people are getting to do comedy and Indian people. And I was
not enough unfunny women on stage. We need more unfunny comics.
Wow. But wouldn't you think somebody in comedy would be like, no matter how edgy you are, you would be thinking everyone should be allowed to do any comedy they want.
Yeah, you'd think.
Except for people I don't like.
Yeah.
Wow, what a baby.
And it's funny because Anthony goes on to say that, like, he does a show with a female comic. Like, he knows women comics, so he goes back and forth between whether or not he thinks women should be able to do comedy at all. It's weird.
I think that's what you start to think when you don't know what else to say.
Yeah, but it's the company line. It's the line that'll keep you in Hollywood getting work. White people. What the fuck is so wrong with white people? It's the camera you're using, motherfucker. It's the microphone. It's podcasting. It's clothes. Jesus Christ.
Oh, white? Because
white people invented all that shit. Whoa, the dreaded white people. Oh, it's not some white people. Now, people of other colors could give their culture. Yeah, go out and get a dose of culture over your head in a subway station.
One, why does he think white people invented clothes?
I don't know.
And the camera and microphones?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know, but I sort of doubt
all the
that they
equipment
invented
you're
all
using.
of them.
I don't know where he went off on he'll fly off that handle at the drop of a hat, too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm about to fly off the handle if his cat doesn't come back on my lap.
I know. I'm so sorry. And what I love most about that clip is that he has to backtrack and explain it because nobody knows why he went off on that weird tirade. He has to go, because white people invented those things. Because nobody was reacting at all to it.
So, James West.
Oh, okay.
Famous black inventor invented the microphone.
Oh. The dose of culture. I guess we can't give black people credit with anything because Anthony will always go back on these examples of black people specifically being violent in subways.
Yeah.
As if they're the only people that are violent ever anywhere.
He's such a one-note person. Learn something new. Like, I don't even care. No, I care, but like, even if it was like something also bigoted, just like learn a new routine.
And yeah, he's definitely one joke.
Yeah.
That's why Compound Censored and Compound Media in general is so boring to go through for clips. Because he always goes on the same tropes, same jokes. It's so repetitive.
When I see a female comic or something and they
Here we go.
stink,
Yeah.
I'm not rooting against them, but they're not as funny as men.
I agree wholeheartedly.
That's factual. It's like
Per capita.
I compared it to like you're not gonna like this.
Uh-oh.
But it's like when you see a white guy in the NBA, they're not keeping the white guys out. Black guys are better at basketball for whatever reason.
I know.
I don't have a headband on, so I know I have no credibility with you. But for whatever reason, black guys
You're not
are
my
better.
friend.
Black guys are better at jumping.
Yes.
And
yes.
dudes are better at comedy than women.
Yeah.
So you can give them all the opportunity.
Such a shouty person.
I know. Did you notice as soon as he started yelling, the guy next to him was like, he tensed up. I was like, whoa. I didn't realize this shit was going to happen. Anthony agrees that per capita...
Yeah, excuse me?
Anthony takes taste...
What data do you even have?
Anthony takes taste... Well, so does Kevin, honestly. It completely ignores the fact that certain things might not be for them. Like, I didn't think this comic was funny. Did the people in the room? Yeah? Then they were funny. Like, they were funny to someone.
Then every so often there's a Larry Bird, but
There is.
every so often there's a female comic. But overall, the bell curve dictates.
You can give them every opportunity. And like I said, if I see a good female comic, I'd be like, oh, that's great, because I like to be entertained too. I like good comedy. So, but I'm saying they're not. You can.
Like, when you
calm down.
I know.
Jesus, take a breath.
He's talking panicked as if he isn't in a room full of people that agree with him and aren't going to give him pushback on anything.
Yeah, like the only thing that they're doing commentary on is how white male supremacy and the patriarchy is reinforcing their fucking white male supremacy.
Yeah.
They're like, there are so many male comics, and like, you know, so the way it works is that they're the best, and like there aren't that many female comics, as if there's nothing really working against them or something. Like,
I just don't understand why Kevin is so panicked. Like, Anthony isn't just standing there going, yes, I agree 100%. You are right.
As if he's finally I can speak my voice.
Yeah, finally. Ugh. So, I don't know who the fuck Big J is, but apparently he had a roast at some point. Okay. And as soon as Anthony was talking about how men are inherently funnier than women, I wanted a clip of Anthony doing comedy outside.
Yes.
Outside the context of his radio show.
And roasts are supposed to be some of the funniest shit.
And he's got prepared jokes written down. So you've had time to workshop these, go through these.
You have a very specific target, which everyone knows. Comedy has to have a victim.
Yes, and also you know what your audience is.
Yeah.
There's no possibility of outside variables. You know who your audience is. You know what kind of comedy they like.
You're probably friends with them.
Odds are you're friends with most of the people in the room. So a couple things you need to know. Big J is apparently a big guy. I don't know who he is. There's also another comedian there named Rich Voss. Rich Voss is kind of a punching bag on O&A. He's there also. Anthony has some jokes towards him. So if you hear him talk about Rich, that's who he's talking about.
Not Rich Evans.
No, not in this case.
Big J. There he is, the man of the minute. Big J. Saying Big J, though, it's so obvious, like saying dumb rich. We know you're big. Jay's, you cut your hair, looks great. You donated your ponytail to douches, oh, fuck. Thank you. Oh, did I fuck that up? No, the cancer kids for Make-A-Wish, you know? What is that? Oh, locks of douche. That's what I meant to say. Thank you. Lots of douche. So some cancer kid can walk around for the next 6 months of his life like an asshole from the 90s.
That's a pity laugh if I ever heard it. Just for him for stumbling across the finish line. Holy shit. You have shit written down. How did you not have the punchline written down?
What a dipshit.
What does it just say? Big J, ponytail, cancer. I forget.
It's 10 postcards. It's 10 post notes, and they each say Big J roast joke number 1, Big J roast joke number 2.
I have the best memory. How did it slip my mind? Luckily, there's a little bit more.
That's it. A sponsor coming in, by the way, for the biker that's not a biker, Harley Davidson.
I remember in high school, my best friend's dad would just call. He hated Harleys, right? And he had a motorcycle.
Course.
And his joke, his dad-ass joke was more like Hardly Abelson, which was better than that joke.
Yeah, it actually went the extra mile.
Which you can't say the same about Harley Davidson. Am I right? I don't know anything about her.
This guy has been doing comedy since the 90s. I need to stress this.
Define doing comedy, though.
He's been a professional paid comedian since the mid-90s.
Does that really mean anything, though?
I mean, he's made good money off of it.
Was it good money, though?
For him. I mean, for us, it's good money.
It's better than being a tin tapper. What's it called?
Tin docker.
A tin docker?
Oh, shit.
Oh, he's docking these tins.
It's better than no money, I guess.
There's like an echo happening that's like...
Oh, you, Yeah, we're recording in a different room, so there might be different acoustics.
Coming in. Big J, saw you on Amy's show. That was very nice. You could play Amy Schumer if you put on a blonde wig and lost weight. What is this? Everyone loves Amy. Well, I do too. I'm not kidding. He cut his hair off because it was the power to repel pussy. Was that it?
Go.
Wow. Just leave the comedy to the men. God, I'm just so sick of that. These not funny women. Like, once in a while, you'll get a funny woman. But men are always funny.
Men are always funny. Fail proof. Now, Anthony, who's transphobic.
More like proof of fail. Go on.
Someone who is demonstrably transphobic over the years, don't you think he would look at trans women and say, oh, well, biologically male.
Yeah. Why doesn't he look at trans women and pull that shit? Where it's like, oh, well, of course they're funny as fuck. They're funnier than anything because they're really not women. It's like...
Because they're able to pull from two different experiences. So they're twice as...
No, he's mad because he's not allowed to make the transphobic jokes. But trans women, obviously, are.
And it's funny because he is allowed to do it. In this aspect, no one is giving him pushback.
Yeah, no.
So I don't want to ever hear Anthony be like, we can't talk about things anymore. There's certain things we just can't joke about anymore. Every place you're ever going to be booked is going to allow you to do it unless your show is canceled.
Yeah.
And that's honestly only because Gavin is involved. And Anthony should probably look at that. If Gavin's name wasn't on the bill, Anthony probably would be able to get booked places.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look at fucking Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle are still getting dates.
Still getting fucking Netflix specials.
Now, sure, they actually make money.
Yeah.
Anthony isn't going to have nearly the draw. But he's also white.
Yeah.
And people probably don't know what he said on Twitter, so he can get away with that because nobody knows who the fuck he is.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple background things before we get to a little last time on, covering the last little bit of the days in Boston leading up to O&A being picked up in New York. I meant to bring this up a couple episodes ago, actually. The person who worked at their station, Bruce Mittman, who was the cool boss at WAAF. When O&A released their CD and the money went towards the, Black Homeless Veterans Charity.
They tried to.
Yeah, they made a good bit of money to give to the charity, but O&A didn't deliver the check themselves. Bruce Mittman delivered the check, and this was the infamous story about how cool Bruce was.
Yeah, we got the minority homeless vets of Boston on board. And when we finally got the money to give them from CD sales, a substantial sum, we sent our GM over there. We were busy that day to give him the big check, the big photo op check. And he said, why do I have to go and give the check to the Schwoogies? The Schwoogies. After we were on the air, telling everyone how nice we were and how cool we are because we were raising money for the minority homeless vets. And then behind closed doors, he was pissed and telling us that he had to deliver the check to the Schwoogies.
I'm guessing that's a slur for black people specifically. And I don't know why he's trying to cover it up. We have other examples of him not even trying to be subtle with his shit.
Yeah.
Cool boss. This is someone that Opie will admit that he kind of realizes in hindsight wasn't cool. And it's funny because Opie will go out and say, like, I don't know what happened. Anthony was one of the funniest people I ever met. And then he fell off and, like, he got racist. And Anthony makes a really good point. I've never changed. I've always been this way.
Yeah.
And for Opie to be surprised, he got in the door with a video doing blackface.
Yeah. Like,
what more proof are you gonna need? And at this point, if Opie was okay with it and thought, wow, this is gonna win the contest, what does that say about Opie? Like,
it's really just proof that Opie was fine with it, much more fine with it back then, and then slowly is like, maybe I'm not as fine with it, because, like, racism and racist acts and stuff being a bit of a spectrum.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could be a racist apologist, like, for your friends, and then you realize, wait, no, that was really fucked up, actually, like, it moves the scale.
Yeah, I've never heard Opie say it, but Anthony claims that it's because of his wife's parents are a little bit more liberal, and that's why Opie wasn't okay with certain jokes, because they weren't okay with certain jokes. I don't know if that's the case.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. A lot of times people only realize how racism and, like, white supremacy really are when they have people in their lives that are educating them about it.
That is true, because up to this point, it's very possible that Opie was in an echo chamber of, like, all the people who are cool and surround Anthony now. Yeah, you're not going to have any liberal voices in that circle, so you've only heard one side for probably most of your life, if not your whole life. In a previous episode, I'd mentioned that they had to have a sit-down with a queer advocacy group. And at the time, I wasn't sure why. Mm-hmm. I have a couple examples as to why. For one, they did a bit called Hi Mom, I'm Gay. They did a couple of these prank calls, Hi Mom, I'm in jail.
Oh, they're prank calls, supposedly prank calls.
Where they have someone call up and say, I'm going to call up my mom, do this thing, and you have the conversation on the air, and that's the bit. It's weird, and I want to get to the bottom of this. Because as much of radio as I understand and get, one thing I've never really understood is how many times O&A get someone on the phone and say, we legally have to tell you you're on the air. Because that is true. You can't just put someone on the radio and not tell them they're on the air. That is illegal.
Yeah.
But then you have all these prank calls that O&A do, they have people do for them, and half the time they don't tell them that they're on the air. Mm. So are they real then, or are they illegal?
Right.
Like, I need to know that. So this one, the mom doesn't actually find out. The son hangs up and then says, holy shit, I gotta call her back. I probably won't play this whole clip. But there are parts of it that are more interesting than others, I guess. This is the Hi Mom, I'm Gay call.
Something I've been meaning to tell you. I was going to tell you when you called earlier today.
Yeah?
I'm gay.
Oh, you're full of
I'm a Twinkie. I swear it.
Bobby, will you stop it? I have enough aggravation.
What? How come you never believe me?
Because I don't believe you.
Why?
Well, you just had a child, Bobby.
Bobby.
Yeah.
That was to throw you off.
Yeah, okay.
I wanted to tell you that. I was hoping you wouldn't take it lightly, but...
Bobby.
What?
Are you trying to be funny?
I'm not. I had to tell you, I just don't feel right. I've known it ever since I was a kid.
Bobby, are you with Donna?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. All right, okay. You can tell your father that. I'm not even going to bring it up.
All right.
You're the one that's always said some terrible things about those people, so what's all of a sudden?
Well, it's to throw everyone off,
Bobby, I don't believe it. However,
You You still love me?
I've had enough heartache. I think, good
You still love me?
Of course I love you.
You just won't kiss me on the lips anymore, huh?
Buddy, what the hell are you doing? Drinking?
No. No.
Yeah, all right.
So yeah, I wanted to at least get to the point where she says, "You're the one who said all the horrible things about those people."
Yeah, like
oh no.
There are definitely some people who later in life come out and they definitely send some shitty homophobic stuff. So it's like,
that is true. As much as I hate the jump that people sometimes make of so and so is really homophobic, they're probably closeted themselves.
Yeah,
people wouldn't say that if that wasn't true a percentage of the time.
It's weird. I think people just need to think more about like the implication, like whether or not someone is gay doesn't mean doesn't make their homophobic comments any less bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is O&A later talking about having met with the queer groups back in the late 90s.
And the boss in front of everybody's like, we have to meet with the gay lesbian alliance of whatever. And then we get behind the closed doors, and it's like, all right, how long is this going to last? He goes, I don't know, the faggot isn't here yet. He should be arriving shortly. I'm sure the queer isn't going to take up much of your time, boys. The homo faggot queer should be leaving well before showtime, boys.
So then you fast forward another half hour, and we're now in the boss's office with the gay guys.
With the gay guys.
And the boss with his arms folded looking at us like he's pissed.
Yeah, so he's got to look like he's all aggravated with us as the gay guys.
And we're sitting there like, you son of a bitch, 10 minutes ago you're calling them faggots.
The last time I had played for you the clip of their other boss, Dave Dickless, calling them up and saying, hey guys, we're going into the gay zone. We got to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the bit that's why he called. There was a Volkswagen commercial in the late 90s. I don't know if you remember it. I'll show it to you to remind. O&A decide the two guys in the commercial must be gay.
Well, yeah, guys don't hang out in a car together without being gay.
I can't play much of this because it's incredibly obnoxious, but this was their on-air take about it.
I'll just play in your face with this squeaky toy as we drive. Isn't this cute? This will be very hard to tell that we're gay.
What you doing, what you don't.
Look, I'm doing karate moves at you. Look.
Doing what you won't.
Look how cute we look. Hey, there's a chair. That'll look great in our apartment. We live together. But let's not say we're gay, so anyone watching the commercial really has to think if we are. Oh, look at that chair. Oh, I can sit in it and you can sit in my lap. Licky, licky, licky. Licky, licky, licky butt. Snippy, snippy, snippy butt.
I think you get the idea.
Yeah.
It goes on for like another minute and a half.
Comedy.
On XM in the 2010s, they were having a discussion about their old bosses in Boston, and they actually get the cool boss, Bruce Mittman, on the phone. Opie is the one that got him on the phone. He barely talks to Opie. He specifically only talks to Anthony, and he says this.
I saw you on Hannity. Would you get me on Hannity's show, please?
You got things to say.
I need to express myself politically.
I don't doubt it, but I don't want hear any liberal drivel from you.
Liberal?
No.
Bruce wasn't.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
Believe me. Me
I'm
and
on
Bruce.
the opposite spectrum of that. On that topic.
I will speak to my good friend Sean Hannity and try to get you on the program. You should do Red Eye too.
For anyone not sure of what Red Eye was, that was like the late night, almost like Bill Maher show that Fox News would have. The show, by the way, for context, Anthony went on after he was fired.
Now, if Sirius gave your job back on the condition you apologize, would you? I will never apologize for this. Yeah. I will never apologize. Even if they did come back and said, will you? I didn't do anything wrong. This is completely this is exactly who I am. I'm not even going to deny it. I go off on tears like this. Yeah. I curse. I say horrific things about people that piss me off. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I did. Why am I going to apologize and say I'm different or I've changed or this? I haven't. It would be a phony, bogus apology because if it had happened again, I'd do the same thing.
Okay, so we're in New York now. I took some things from Anthony's book. I didn't pull any of the clips because I felt like I could get him across way quicker than he actually could because he meanders. So to start the chapter about getting hired in New York, he says, many people speculated that we were smart enough to purposely get fired to go to WNEW. We weren't. Was it a subconscious thing? Maybe.
Did we sabotage ourselves like we probably do all the time? Maybe.
This goes against Opie's telling of the story that Opie wanted to get purposely fired from WAAF to get a job in New York. Anthony says specifically in the book that that was not the case. So now we have two completely conflicting stories there. Anthony also mentions that they were flown down to Atlanta because their agent had talked to a station and they could have possibly have done a morning show.
Atlanta?
Doing radio in Atlanta.
Yeah, Anthony would go over like gangbusters in Atlanta.
Yeah. It's funny to hear Anthony in the early days of NEW, as we'll find out. He's not nearly as outlandishly racist as he'll soon be. He more or less plays it up that he wouldn't get along with the southern white people. I know. He's playing it up like, oh, rednecks are so stupid.
So he's racist and classist, of course.
Of course, yeah. That shouldn't be a surprise at all.
No, you're right.
So,
if he had gone to Atlanta, he might have learned some shit.
That's very possible.
Because once you're exposed to people you dislike in a situation where you can't be violent against them, you start to learn.
So the boys were offered a choice between afternoons on WNEW, a classic rock radio station recently expanding to play more mainstream modern rock, and K-Rock, the big dog alternative rock station with Howard Stern doing mornings. Once O&A chose K-Rock, their agent informed them that K-Rock was no longer an option and that they'd have to settle for WNEW. O&A believe Howard had something to do with blocking the boys from doing the K-Rock gig. That does fit in line with their narrative that Howard has always had something against, saw them as either rip-offs or competition or whatever, and didn't want them doing afternoons on the station he was doing mornings in. Alternatively, WNEW and K-Rock were both owned by CBS. So it would make sense, business-wise, to have a really big name doing mornings on one station, then having another show, like Howard's show, on a separate station. So instead of having one station do really well, you could potentially have two stations doing really well.
Yeah, it's like diversifying it.
Yeah. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Especially compared to how we'll hear clips over time of O&A in 98 talking highly about Howard fairly frequently. So I wonder if that was a narrative that they built later on. Neither one of them are reliable narrators, and they change their stories a lot. So unfortunately, I don't know really what to believe. I'm just presenting to you what I've heard. Now, you're not going to care at all about this, but I need to present to you, before O&A got brought on, this was the daily lineup. Dave Herman doing 6 to 10, Pat St. John doing 10 to 1, Scott Muni doing 1 to 4, Carol Miller doing 4 to 7, Dennis Elsas doing 7 to 10, Pete Fontenelle doing 10 to 1, and Vince Scelsa on weekends. The reason I wanted to say that is because for people who know, this is Michael Jordan's Scottie Pippen, mid-90s Chicago Bulls. If you were to list all-time legendary radio DJs, this is an amazing lineup.
Oh, okay.
It was an amazing lineup in the 70s and 80s. Not so much anymore. Big names like these do not carry weight in the 90s, unfortunately. They're still the 21st station in the market, out of a possible 25. And this is one of the main reasons that O&A are actually hired, is to try to help this station that is floundering, try to evolve the station towards maybe kind of what K-Rock is doing. You have the alt-rock, you have an edgy show on that is consistently the #1 rated show in the mornings, Howard Stern, book after book. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the context of a whole bunch of aging jocks to now bring in a couple of 30-something shock jocks that nobody there wants or likes. So they're met with a lot of hostility at first, and we'll get into that a little bit. Dave Herman is still doing 6 to 10. Scott Muni is now doing 10 to 12, so he's now down from doing 3 hours a day to 2 hours a day.
Oh.
One of the biggest names on the station is getting less and less time. Carol Miller are now the lead-in, doing noon to 3, and O&A are in the primetime drive slot of 3 to 7. So their first show in WNEW is June 25th, 1998. According to Anthony's book, they were hired in July and started their show in September. I don't understand how many times Anthony gets very basic things about his own career this wrong.
Yeah, that's weird.
Easily Google this.
The book he wrote was just a cash grab.
Yeah, you gotta capitalize on being fired. You gotta capitalize on being suspended off Twitter.
He's not gonna actually do any work. He's just gonna type a bunch of words and be like, editor, make it not so ugly.
So from what we had heard just recently, their cutting edge bit making fun of that Volkswagen commercial, we kind of get an idea of what kind of radio they were doing in Boston. We listened to clips for a whole episode of it.
Frank Yankers, the radio show.
So this is how they start their first show in the #1 market, New York City. This is the opening bit.
1027 WNEW, the Rock of New York. That's the latest from the Goo Goo Dolls, Iris, off the City of Angels soundtrack. Good afternoon. Hey, what's up, bro? How you doing, Op? Not much. It's Opie and Anthony. And we're back in New York. Here we are. That's right. This is good. 92 degrees in New York today. Not much oxygen out there on the streets of New York either. Nothing smells quite like Manhattan on a 92-degree day. It's the sense, because when we left, it was, I think it was wintertime. Yes. And that was the last time I was in. Right. And the cold weather kind of covers up the fragrance of stacked garbage. Some of those corners, those dark hid-away corners that some people are using as bathrooms. Yeah. There's a bouquet that just kind of floats off of the stoops and stairways. But you know something? You gotta love it, right? Yeah, it's New York. You know you're in New York.
Gripping.
Okay.
Very tame. We're talking about the weather.
Literally talking about the weather.
They have nothing. Now, they're extremely nervous because this is their first day in the big market. They don't want to piss off anybody. Now, they've went back and they've listened to this show 10 years after the fact, and they goofed on it, tore it apart. They could have easily done a break on the first 4 months of the show. It really doesn't get a whole lot better for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They're still doing corny bits. They're still doing goofy ticket giveaways and all that.
Good afternoon. It's Opie and Anthony. Hola. Getting lots and lots of phone calls from all our old pals. This is kind of neat. It's like a homecoming, huh? It certainly is. And faxes. Also, yeah, speaking of faxes, I want to say hi to Vince Skelsa. Yeah, he faxed in a welcome. He faxed us a welcome to NEW, best wishes. That is so cool. It's so weird to be here because, I mean, just like everyone in New York, I grew up listening to NEW. Legendary station. And just to be walking around in these hallways the last 2 weeks and hanging out with Scott Muni and Carol Miller, it's just been surreal.
Opie will admit that he did not grow up listening to WNEW. He grew up listening to WPLJ. Because, and he says, WNEW is too eclectic. He liked PLJ because it was more mainstream.
Oh.
Opie's taste is kind of boring musically, but then later he'll name drop things like he listens to Fish. So he's kind of out there, but he doesn't like talking about it too much. He's like beginner college rock radio fan. He likes Fish, he likes REM, he likes U2. And another thing I wanted to mention was Vince Skelsa specifically. He would be among the DJs who would print out faxes from callers about how much they hated O&A and would tape them around the studio and above the production board instead of confronting O&A to their faces.
Wow, he's like a passive-aggressive roommate.
Yeah, they started this their second day. They got 1 day of being cordial. Callers were not very receptive to the first episode. Sent in faxes. The next day they came in. There's faxes all over the place, taped up directly above the production board, saying the colors don't want you, and all this. According to O&A, Scott Muni is the only DJ who is actually cool to them, and just kind of was like, he understood that the station was moving forward, and he understood the need for it, because the station's doing really shitty. How much worse can you do? Starting out really early, Anthony's showing his worth on the show by doing something Opie doesn't do very much, and that's doing impressions.
Oh, no.
Opie cannot do impressions to save his fucking life.
Can you do an impression?
I'm not on the spot.
Who can you do an impression of?
Ah, jeez.
Pee Wee Herman.
I will admit, Anthony does a much better Pee Wee than I could do. At least back then. I don't know if he can anymore.
Don't say that.
He could.
What about Elmo? Try Elmo.
He could do a better Elmo.
No, I want to hear your Elmo.
You're saying all these voices that he's proven that he can do way better.
Please do me Elmo. For Christmas.
How? I don't even know how to start doing an Elmo.
Say,
that was not
okay,
gas.
Now say, Elmo loves his goldfish.
Elmo loves his goldfish. His goldfish.
No, it's crayon too.
His crayon?
Yeah!
Jesus Christ.
Now go, Elmo's world.
Elmo's world.
Yeah, okay.
That's the best I could do. Now
do Newt Gingrich.
So a lot of the voices Anthony does at this time period are largely irrelevant personalities. Like, he could do an Andrew Dice Clay really well. He does a Reverend Al Sharpton, who at this point is very politically involved, so that's kind of relevant. But he also does a Charlton Heston. That's neither here nor there. But one that is arguably the most useful to him is a Bill Clinton impression. Because, let me just run down a few of the things, big news stories that are happening just in the few first months of O&A in New York.
Mm-hmm.
There's a construction workers riot / protest / strike that shuts the city down. The Million Youth March, which Reverend Al has a part in. It's like the Million Man March on Washington, but it's youths
for
instead.
Kids' rights and shit.
I think, it's still black rights, but younger people. The whole Bill and Monica thing is huge news right now. The day Monica is supposed to have this big interview, Clinton bombs Syria, and then we find out that I think that was Hillary's suggestion. We can look into that, but I think I remember reading that.
The emails.
Clinton also bombs Baghdad when Congress says that they will prolong impeachment hearings in case he bombs Baghdad, and later that day, he does.
What the fuck?
So O&A actually spent the whole episode taking calls and arguing and debating whether or not this was, shitty or not. It's one of the better episodes because they're actually having, a real discussion about something.
But it also, I imagine people thought it wasn't good because it's why are we talking about this?
I will say, a lot of the calls at this time period are pre-recorded.
Right.
Because you hear curses getting bleeped.
Yeah.
All this. So they're taking phone calls during songs, I guess, and then they're playing them back. Because when they take live phone calls, they either go one of two ways. WNEW. WNEW, you there? Or someone is on and they have their radio turned up, so they're listening to the delay.
So it's say it.
WNEW. No.
No. Okay, no.
It's like they're listening.
It's like they're listening.
They're listening.
No.
No. Stop. There's an 8-second delay.
Okay, I'll do it again.
No.
Do it again.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be the same.
No, it's not going to be the same.
So if someone calls up and they're on the phone and they're listening to the radio, when O&A say WNEW, they're not going to hear it for another 8 seconds. They're listening to the radio. So they're on the phone, they're talking to them.
Oh, okay, Coach. Okay, do it. Just say
WNEW.
Hello?
Yeah, it's like that. So they got to be like, oh, come on, turn your radio down.
It's me, Jonathan. Yep. I wanted to ask you about
I wanted to talk about this Bill and Monica thing. That's exactly it. So a lot of the phone calls, they have to pre-record them to get rid of all that shit.
Okay.
Hey, President Clinton.
Hello, Opie. Hello, Anthony.
What's going on? You're in China, I hear.
I'm here in China spreading goodwill.
Now, I got a problem with this.
What's the problem?
There's not a lot of people in China that speak English, so how are you communicating with the people?
Well, I'm going to have a Chinese interpreter that I take with me. His name is Dong.
Wait a minute. Your Chinese interpreter, his name is Dong?
Yes, my Dong. His name. My Chinese interpreter. I wouldn't dream of coming to China without my Dong.
Come on.
Yes, the Chinese people will know what I'm about through my Dong.
Now, President Clinton, will this interpreter be helping you with any policy makings over there in China?
No, he's strictly an interpreter. As soon as my dong starts thinking for me, that's when I get in trouble.
I see, okay.
Some people say that there's a better choice of interpreters out there, but I got to tell you, I stand behind my dong.
Kind of one note. You get an idea as to what the...
That's his best one?
No, that's just one of them from the first episode.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good.
It sounds like he's, like, in pain.
Yeah.
He just woke up.
Not a great representation. But it's one of the most relevant voices.
Yeah.
Like, one you could actually get a good bit of mileage out of. Their take on the whole Bill Clinton thing kind of is wishy-washy this time period. Monica Lewinsky's not hot, so we're going to judge him for having an affair with someone that isn't hot, okay? Anthony will sometimes say, I don't want a president who will lie to the American people, and people will call up and say, every president does that? What's different about Bill?
Yeah.
So, very rarely do they take the, we also don't know this until much later, that Bill was a rapist. And that doesn't really get brought in to it. When they actually try to talk politics, they feel kind of out of their element. But so we sometimes do get a glimpse as to where they actually do stand. Like, Opie seems more interested in policy. Like, we could be talking about Social Security and all this, when Anthony is very preoccupied with very shallow things, which makes a lot of sense with how and why he defends Trump and why he likes Trump. It's not because of any policies he does, it's because he triggers the libs, so he likes that. As much as Anthony will say he, watches history and studies all this and is very knowledgeable, his opinions don't reflect that. So do you ever wonder where the name Opie came from?
Wait, didn't you tell me where it came from, though? Wait.
Did I?
Isn't his name, like, Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer Hughes! Greg Oppenheimer, inventor of the atom bomb, destroyer of worlds, Hughes.
Isn't his full name Opes All Berries?
And it's weird. At the beginning of the clip, Opie seems like he doesn't want to tell the story, but it's a story he tells a good bit, so he obviously has this rehearsed in his brain.
We all know that one person that's like, nah, don't ask me about how I performed at the World Series, no!
Now, what I think is really funny about the clip is that he gives a lot of details, and this is not an interesting story, but Opie feels like it's interesting, I guess, and I don't know if this is true or happened.
What kind of name is Opie?
That's a viable question. People probably want to know. It's a crappy name. I'm not happy with it.
Well, what does it mean? What's it short for?
Go ahead, tell the story. Well, I was the only one in 7th grade that didn't have a nickname. It's not a radio name, by the way. It's been my name since I was 12. Well, that's what I go as. My mom calls me Dopey, but besides that, everyone else calls me Opie.
I know how you feel.
But put it this way.
What's that?
I had 3 choices. They all, ganged up on me in math class in 7th grade, and they said, "Hey, kid, you don't have a nickname. We're going to give you one right now." Julie Burson, by the way. So they make me stand up in front of the class, and then they decide what they're going to call me.
Yeah, that's not what happens.
Excuse me? That's not how nicknames work in school.
Everybody in class has a nickname?
Okay, what's your nickname? Okay, what's your nickname? That's not a good one. You got
That's not a good one. You're going to need a better one. Yeah, that's why I don't believe this happened.
I will say, in middle school, I tried so hard to have people call me a nickname.
Oh, like what?
It was Josie.
Oh, okay.
And it's just, it just seems like a normal name, just like a nickname.
Yeah.
Beauty school, they would call me It was like short stuff.
I imagined it would be a height joke.
Lil Bit.
Lil Bit.
Lil Bit.
Okay.
It was a lot of like black women that were just like giving me like nicknames, terms of endearment.
Yeah.
And I loved Lil Bit. That was so cute. Or Pocket. As long as people aren't calling me like the M slur for short people.
Yeah.
I'm fine with like short nickname terms of endearment from people I know.
Right, yeah. So I'll spare you from the rest of the clip because it's boring and the story didn't happen. That he was given options of Howdy Doody.
Options.
Will Robinson from Lost in Space. Four Eyes. And then someone finally said Opie, and he said, fine, I'll go with Opie.
Like Opie from...
Andy Griffith.
Yeah,
Because he has red hair and kind of looked like Opie when he was younger.
I guess that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He seems blonde to me, though.
Yeah, he's more of a strawberry blonde, I guess. Yeah. So why are you still using it if you didn't like it?
Yeah, is it like are you like blackmailed into using it?
Yeah, I don't...
Like, what are they going to do to your family if you stop using it?
Yeah,
Wait, what's his real first name?
Greg.
Opie's better.
It is. Yeah.
Greg.
Then
He doesn't look like a Greg.
And he's like, it's not a radio name. Well, you're using it! Then it's a radio name! And his mom calls him Dopey? Why would she do that?
She's a bitch.
Well,
sounds like.
We do learn a good bit about his mom eventually. We're not there yet, and I don't know when, but we'll keep an ear out for that. Something that I was very interested about, and we learn over the next two clips, and this is why I think the whole Anthony thing snuck up on me, is that Opie is the asshole for a good bit of the first few years of the show. So Anthony seems like the innocent, sit back, just be the jokey guy. And Opie's main way of being funny is just being an asshole.
Okay.
So a woman comes in, and Anthony has a new camera, and he found out that if you take a picture using the night vision during the day, that it's like it takes a picture through the clothes.
No, it doesn't.
And you could see, well, that's what he thought. So they got a woman in studio to try it out. And after she leaves the studio, this is how Opie talks about her.
God, I'm gonna have nightmares. Whose idea was that, to bring that chick in here?
I said I just wanted to see if this damn camera worked with the, it's supposed to be X-ray.
I haven't seen
with the night vision on.
I haven't seen a chick naked in weeks, and I have to see that. Anyone have any mouthwash? I gotta get that taste out of my mouth.
Hey, I like some bacon with my eggs.
God. Oh, God, I'm horrified.
Oh, my God. It's crazy I don't like girls anymore.
Well, she was a little lacking in the
a little
breast area.
Howard gets Playboy models, and we get skank hoes. What the hell is wrong with us over here? Jeez.
What was that feedback at the end?
I wanted to point that out. I'm glad you asked.
What the fuck?
This is a problem that Anthony actually calls Opie out on consistently. He'll sometimes turn his headphones towards the microphone and creates a feedback loop.
Wow, what a noob.
How long have you been doing this? And Anthony will seriously be like, dude, stop doing that. And he's been doing radio for considerably less time. And he's over there being like, why are you turning your headphones to the fucking microphone?
Oh my God.
The only reason I'm kind of like not sure how to feel about this is because at the very end, before they go to the song, Anthony's like, dude, shut up, leave me alone. It's not like it was my girlfriend or anything. I don't know if that was somebody they knew or if that was Opie's girlfriend and he was like joking. I didn't recognize her voice, so I don't know. But yeah, the way he says this at the end, it made me question if this was like a bit or not.
Yeah, great bit. Great idea, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. I just want to see if the camera works. Thank you. 1027 WNEW, The Rock of
girlfriend or
New York. Hitting the post here, baby.
I don't know. It just sort of sounded like he was trying to protest more and more. Like, oh, great bit. I hated that bit. Like, I don't think they knew them.
No.
I feel like whenever they have someone come in, they just find some intern or some random motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know, there's somebody they're not going to pay to just come in so they can ridicule them.
Something I did notice that adds some flavor to the show is when they have people to make fun of. Because O&A will make fun of...
When they have a victim.
When they have a victim. Because when O&A try to make fun of each other, it usually doesn't really go anywhere and kind of feels forced. I'll cut down to this because there's something in here. minor character traits we learn about Opie and Anthony over the first few months.
Okay.
This is just a bullet point. This is kind of like the Miss Libby's car is green, Billy likes to drink soda, janitor from the Billy Madison movie. These are just a couple things. Opie and Anthony are staying in a hotel in New York for the first few months. Opie's girlfriend Sandy is still living in Boston, but comes up once Opie rents a house. Anthony and Jen, his wife, who he married in 1991 when he was 30, soon move in a quarter-mile away from Opie's house. So they're very close. Anthony hates to use public bathrooms. I can relate to that. Anthony had sex with a girl in a church bathroom when he was 17 or 18.
Okay.
Now, he says he had sex in a church. Opie immediately, before he even gets the sentence out, goes, "With a priest?" And forces this bit for the rest of the show and insists that he said he had sex with a priest when he clearly didn't. So it's like, these are the kind of bits we have when we try to bust each other's balls.
Yeah.
They're extremely forced, based out of nothing.
And they don't really sell them, probably.
No, not really. Sometimes the producer, Rick, the only other person who's involved in the show at this point, who's, by the way, Sandy's brother.
Okay.
So, little bit of weirdness there. I don't know how he got involved, if Sandy suggested Rick as a producer, or if Rick was already working at the radio station. Small world kind of thing. I don't know. But you do notice eventually Opie will start screaming at Rick when screened phone calls don't go the way he planned. So when they have a victim to start yelling at, that's when it seems to kind of become more of a show.
They have to find somebody to hate. Like, what's his name?
Like Gavin.
Yeah.
Anthony worked for his uncle for a short period when he was in high school, but was fired for missing too many days. I don't know if he was actually in high school, if it was after high school, but he did drop out when he was a junior, I think. Also for missing too many days. He spoke to the principal, and the principal was just like, take the rest of the year off, get a job, and then come back when the next school year starts.
Oh, don't waste your time.
Learn some responsibility.
Yeah.
But according to his book, he said he went out, found a job, was like, well, now I'm making money. Why would I want to give this up to go back to school? I can afford shit now, so I'm just not going to go back to school. Not a terrible line of thinking. It does make sense. Anthony's wife, Jennifer, will periodically pop into the studio and just spend the day there in the background chiming in. Knowing how
so weird.
Knowing that he doesn't like his wife at all, that adds a really weird dynamic. They actually don't have bad on-air chemistry, though, so go figure. Anthony often insists that he is a happily married man. I've heard a clip of Jen on the WAAF show, but recollection will tell me Anthony downplayed his marriage until WNEW. That was something they tried to do of like, hey, we're just a couple single guys, you know. But now, a big part of the conversations are being unhappy in their relationships. Opie is miserable. He never sees his girlfriend. That's why he said, I haven't seen a naked woman in weeks. And now I see this woman and she's so unattractive or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say this is to play up to something for the listeners to possibly relate to, but I believe it. They just aren't happy with their relationship.
There's also just that, like, old-fashioned meme of just, like, you gotta, ball and chain, you gotta hate your wife.
What do you got planned for the weekend, Anthony? What's the wife dragging you out to do? A lot of that shit.
Yeah.
Anthony has on multiple occasions mentioned believing he is in a state of arrested development and never really had a chance to grow up.
That's CPTSD for you.
He says this as a joke, but the more we go, I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
That is very accurate self-diagnosis on Anthony's part.
Yeah.
So Opie is a bit of a germaphobe at some points. Whenever anyone nearby coughs or sneezes, he'll cover up his face immediately.
How's COVID been for him?
I don't think he probably left the house much.
That's fair.
If I had to guess, he probably stayed at home much.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a job, so why would you go anywhere? His wife probably just went out. Opie took part in local coverage of the Jerry Lewis telethon until it became too depressing. Part of his audition tape we watched a little bit of, I didn't leave any of the footage in, was that when the Jerry Lewis telethon would be going on for, I forget the disease. It's for like it's like for children.
I don't remember this telethon.
Really?
No.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis would hold a yearly telethon for, I think it might have been multiple sclerosis or
some disease.
One of those. And every so often, they would send it to local affiliates. So that would be the national thing, would be the Jerry Lewis telethon. But then they'd be like, whatever market you're in, they would sometimes send the feed to, like, whatever was local. And Opie would be hosting that. And you'd see him, like, taking money and all this, giving out the phone number, and just being very involved. And actually was even talking about, like, knowing people who had children who weren't. Like, he was very into this shit, and then said it got too depressing and he couldn't do it anymore. So, I don't blame him, really.
Yeah, honestly.
But going from that bit about Opie just being oddly the sexist weirdo, I wanted to play for you the first racist rant in Opie and Anthony history.
Now, what are the details? This guy was driving a huge truck, right? Commercial vehicle. Mm-hmm. And there is an obscure law that if you're driving a truck that is as big as the one he was driving, they ask that you speak English.
Right. It's just part of it. There's a lot of signs, I guess, and things that you have to know. You have to be able to speak the language of the land.
Yes, well, this guy is claiming discrimination and all this crap, and I just want to applaud the cop for giving this guy the ticket. Simple as that. And I'll tell you why. Because this is America. What is happening to America? I only ask one thing. We have a lot of people coming into the country on a daily basis, right?
Right, and the one thing you hear is, your ancestors came over here.
That's fine. But when my ancestors came over here, they learned the language!
They learned, like, to speak, like, all the native languages?
Yeah, right?
No, they just forced everyone to speak their language.
Yeah. Who are your ancestors?
Who are your ancestors?
Every time you turn around, it's getting harder and harder to communicate in this city.
Mm-hmm. I understand. I think that's why no one communicates.
Do you realize that the #1 radio station in New York is a station that speaks half Spanish and half English? What is that saying for our country?
At the same time?
Because there aren't many of them. So naturally, people who speak Spanish are going to listen to the Spanish station.
Yeah.
English-speaking stations take up, like, at least probably, like, 15 of the top 20 stations in the city.
Yeah.
So that just makes sense.
Yeah, like, do you want everyone to only have an English station?
I don't know.
Like, literally everyone only speaks English?
Yes.
It's because a lot of, like, people don't want to learn any other language, so they're worried people are talking shit about them.
This clip goes on for a while. The main reason I wanted to include it is because it's not Anthony. Anthony's chiming in a little bit.
Yeah, I still can't separate their voices yet.
But Opie is talking 90% of this clip.
Yeah.
Anthony is very quietly agreeing, but he sounds way more nuanced, way more reasonable. He's like, well, there's some signs. Like at one point they were talking about, they were changing streetlights in the city from walk, don't walk to the walking character and the hand.
Yeah.
And that, of course, brought up a whole thing about, like, well, if everyone just knew English, we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah, if you can't read, then you're fucked. Excuse me?
Yeah.
You can't read that, then you're fucked? Fuck you.
He's just so mad that there's accommodate. And again, I don't know how much of this is real and how much of this is for show, but they seem to have to pad their shows with discussions, so I wouldn't be surprised if half of it is just exaggerated for the sake of...
They could be padding it with something entertaining. But
yeah.
The fact that they're choosing to pad it with this, it's like...
Pad it with racism.
Yeah, it just seems genuine.
And then not get much... Like, if you were doing this to try to get interaction from the audience, hey, what are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about this? But they don't get it.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're casting a lot of lines out there and then not getting any bites. And it's like, well, at least we ranted about it for a whole break. So I guess that's something.
This kind of racism is so, like, dubious that, like, it seems just as simple as, all I ask is that everyone speaks English, but I'm not going to recognize all of the obstacles that, like, lie within learning to speak English.
Yeah.
And then if you do speak English, then you better not have a weird accent when you do it, because then it'll be hard for me to understand, even though it really won't. I just really want you to sound exactly like me, because that's what white supremacy is based on, is, like, assimilating all people who aren't white.
I don't want to be reminded that you're any different.
Don't. See, because then guess what? Because then you're going to have to be a target.
Then I'm gonna...
I don't want to have to target you. That takes a lot out of my day.
I'm gonna have to hate you. I don't want to.
Every day I walk into a room and I have to find a target to hate.
Yeah. Whenever I'm at a kid's resort,
no, I
gotta
thought it was like
hate
a
on the
Golden
mashed
Corral
potato
or
man.
something.
Wait, what?
I thought it was a Golden Corral for some reason.
No, I mean there was a buffet.
There was a mashed potato buffet.
But
imagine that. Imagine a buffet with like all different kinds of potatoes.
Oh, fuck.
I would go to a potato buffet in a heartbeat.
All
curly
different
fries, tater tots, mashed potatoes,
waffle fries,
sweet potatoes, sweet potato fries, sweet potato curly fries, sweet potato tots.
You're not getting any argument out of me. No, I'll be the number one clientele.
You'll be the sign spinner in the potato outfit out in front.
I'll be your mascot.
Yeah,
for sure.
Potato mascot. You'll be Spuds McKenzie.
Oh fuck! Trying to sell fudgy wudgy bars.
No.
Wait, no, that's Spuds. Spuds Buckley.
That's what I'm saying.
Spuds McKenzie was the dog for Bud Light or whatever.
But that's not potatoes.
Potatoes, no. I don't know why his name was Spuds.
Why'd you say potatoes like that so fast? Potatoes, no.
I don't know why Spuds Buckley's name is Spuds Buckley. I don't know where that comes from either. Opie's character, if you forgot.
What a waste of a good potato name.
A potato man. Maybe he's Irish. Maybe, I mean, red hair.
Hugh.
Is very... Oh, yeah. So Chris Rock was a guest on the Today Show. And he cursed a little bit, and they weren't happy with him. So in the replay for the West Coast, they ended up cutting the segment out. That's not too particularly important.
Okay.
But it's a setup for a bit that O&A try as one of their first big stunts.
I want to, stick up for Chris Rock today, too. Chris Rock, hallelujah, brother man.
What happened?
Well, he went on the Today Show yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And he was giving his comments about the whole Clinton affair.
Mm-hmm.
And it got a little raunchy. That's what you get when you get Chris Rock on your show, though. Chris Rock said ass twice, and Matt Lauer was freaking out, saying, remember, this is a family show.
Because he said ass.
He said ass and scumbag, and he said how he wants to whoop Kenneth Starr's ass.
Right. He got in trouble for that?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's stupid.
Today's show claiming to be some type of family show. I suggest that we try to do something, actually, with the Today Show.
Like?
I don't know. You should see what kind of listeners we have out there. I know we don't have many, but maybe we could get one to do something wacky.
Oh, in the little crowd of rubes?
Yeah.
When the camera comes on?
Yeah.
They would sometimes, when Al's doing the weather outside, there'd be a whole bunch of people from, around the country. And they would stand outside with, their signs being like, hey, Mom, I'm in New York, or whatever.
Okay.
And the camera would pan the people.
Oh, on roofs?
Rubes.
I was
yeah, they're holding signs on
Yeah, that's
roof.
why I was like, excuse me? What is this, the Beatles performance? Like, everyone's on the roof?
Yeah, and then they're waiting for the police to come by. Yeah, no, he was calling them rubes.
Oh, okay.
I say we set up a bounty. Like, first girl to show her boobs. Oh, man, would that be mint? First girl to show her boobs on the Today Show when they're out in the street, I will personally give $100. Are you in for 100?
I'm in for 100.
For risking indecent exposure charges?
They do actually say that it is not illegal in New York to be topless, or at least it wasn't in 1998. So
I think you're right.
They start a collection pool from people in the office. It gets to $1,000.
Okay.
Not just 100. So we got to keep our eyes out for that one.
Okay.
Because I've been listening for half a year. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
They get some people calling up saying they're going to try, and then they never do. So, I'll let you know when that ever happens. An example of Jen in studio.
Jen?
Oh, Anthony's wife, Jen.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the few times she's actually in there, and they have a little back and forth.
Yeah, some girl here, she says, you go, Jen, cut it off, honey, if he cheats. A woman's perspective. Yeah, Jen said she would cut off my gonads if I ever cheated.
Right.
You know, well, Bill Clinton can do it in the White House, but...
Yeah, then Clinton gets to be a man and bomb stuff after he cheats. And
you wouldn't stand by me like Hillary and just, okay, honey.
No, would you stand by me if I did it? Well, say.
Kidding.
Well, you guys should cheat together, maybe.
I'd be out dating.
Why don't you guys go cheat together?
Cheat together.
Why not?
No, we haven't. I mean, yeah.
Oh. A little train action. Why are you blowing a train whistle? Talking about cheating and you blow a train whistle.
I don't know.
All right.
Seemed appropriate, Opie.
All right.
It's so weird. What?
Yeah, it's all very weird. It gets weird. Back when they lived in New York together before having moved to Boston, Anthony and Jennifer had a mutual friend. They would have threesomes fairly regularly. Anthony in his book said this is the main reason he stayed with his wife, was because it was a promise of threesomes, and would give him an excuse to have sex with another woman. When Opie says, y'all should cheat together, and they say, well, we haven't, and he goes, oh, I'm pretty sure Opie knows. So what happens when they move to Boston, all that kind of stops. But now that they're back in New York for WNEW, they're back to that again. And Anthony explains in his book that when it started out kind of like spending equal time with each woman, it eventually came down to he's fucking this woman, hand over to the side, just kind of messing with his wife.
Yeah.
Not really paying her much attention. And eventually the wife isn't involved anymore, but Anthony keeps that a little secret.
Yeah.
That may or may not lead to their divorce. Pretty sure it's a major driving force to their divorce.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. They actually stay married until 2000.
Well, I don't know why you say actually, as if unhealthy marriages last a super long time, like so much of the time.
At this point, they will have been married for 10 years by the time they get divorced. And Anthony will tell you that he cried himself to sleep the day of the wedding. So that's 10 unhappy years knowing that you want out of this marriage. A disaster.
Be a man. Get a divorce. What the fuck?
Yeah. And ultimately, I'm pretty sure she fucking serves him papers.
Yeah. She's the real man.
Yeah. He isn't even the one to fucking, solidify it. Up next, we hear a familiar voice.
Is it Elmo?
It's not Elmo. I'm sorry. But I wanted to bring this up because it kind of reminded me of in wrestling. And AEW is great about this. Where someone used to be in the indies, and then they come to AEW, and they do a storyline that they did back in the indies. So if you paid attention, you'd be like, oh, I remember this. This has some...
It's like a little treat.
It's a little treat. Look at this as a little treat.
Oh, okay.
Because this is a callback to a bit we've heard before.
Is it Spuds McKenzie?
It's not Spuds Buckley either, I'm sorry.
So, why a visit to the Opie and Anthony show this afternoon?
Hey, I'm having a little trouble.
What do you mean you're having a little trouble? What?
Well, I can't stand up, so you have to look down. Let me back out a little.
All right.
Look it down here.
Yeah, you're in your little rascal.
No, look down at my pants.
Whoa! What the heck is going on with your crotch?
I had a problem at the home.
What happened at the home? They call my name's Bill.
I took Viagra. Yeah. I thought it was vitamins. And I took 5.
You took 5 Viagra pills?
Oh.
You're not supposed to do that. One will do the trick.
I almost catapulted myself out of my little rascal scooter.
So you pretty much OD'd on Viagra. That's a dangerous thing.
I know, and I need some help.
Why? It won't go down?
It won't go away.
Oh
I'm in pain.
They actually played up of, okay, Bill, I'll get you some help. I'll call up the pharmacy.
They call the pharmacy again, supposedly?
They play the same phone call from years ago.
Are you kidding me? They couldn't even record a new fake phone call?
No, it's the exact same bit.
Wow.
This happens a few times, actually, where it's like, if you know, you know, but the new listeners aren't going to know.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Reselling stuff that you, like, did before, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah. It's not hurting anybody. They don't know.
But make a good one.
Yeah, no. Did you think the Bill calling the pharmacist because he took Viagra was such a great bit that you needed to recycle it word for the new market? Here we have an Anthony history lesson. So we get to learn about...
Anthony's history or Anthony teaching us about history?
Anthony's history growing up.
Villain origin story?
Yeah.
Well, they took my car once when I was...
The car you were living out of?
Yeah. I actually was living out of my car at one point. I had an old a Chevy Monza. I was styling. And I went through GMAC.
Yeah.
General Motors Acceptance Corporation.
Sure.
I decided turned into Get Me Anthony's Car after a while. And I was hiding it. It was like chess. And they came to my job once.
Uh-huh.
I was working out in Hop Hog. And this big burly guy comes and goes, I'm taking your car.
was like, oh, please, don't take my car. I'll give you the money tomorrow. I swear to God, I'll give you the money tomorrow. And he had to call his boss, went to this big thing, and he goes, all right, but I'm coming back tomorrow, and I am taking the money or the car. Okay, thank you. He left. I quit the job. Because I figured I could get another job with the car, but I couldn't keep the job without the car. Right. So I would have lost the job either way. And
now, you were living out of your car.
Yeah.
Where do you park it to sleep? I always wanted to know that.
Either the train station parking lot was a good thing.
Good.
In Green Lawn.
Okay.
Or I would park it in my work parking lot in Hop Hog. And then I would, like, shower at my brother's house or something, or a friend's house.
Well, why didn't your brother let you...
He lived in a shoebox, too.
Oh.
It was like, you know, a transitional period between getting heaved out of Mom's house and having to decide, hey, I better do something.
Now, Aunt, why did you get heaved out of Mom's house? We got to learn about you today.
Well, we were getting, you know, I was, I guess, 20 or so, maybe 19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
And she had already raised us enough. You know, the old man cut out and went to California. So she had to work, and she decided, you know something, I'm getting a little tired of this. So you guys leave. I have to live my life.
You guys leave.
You know.
Very nice.
Well, she gave us like a month's notice. It was great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
All right. You guys should be on Jerry Springer.
Oh, no. Yeah, we got past that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
In Anthony's book, she actually had the days on a counter counting down to when she was going to kick him out of the house. They might have gotten past it, but yeah, Anthony's not pleased with it.
Yeah, you don't get past that, really.
No, not really. We have our first N-word of the show.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, even though everything we've heard up to this point, Anthony says it.
Are there people that are confused? I don't know.
Are they the same people that are soaping up their cars for Sosa?
I don't understand what you mean, Opie.
I'm just asking.
During the home run race,
okay,
people were taking like the soap on the windows.
Oh, I thought
like
he was mispronouncing soup.
Oh no,
souping up. Okay, soap.
Yeah, for
soaping.
like when you're graduating.
That's soap.
They say soap. I've always heard it referred to as soap. I don't know if it's actually soap or not.
I thought it was like car paint.
I thought so too. I guess soap was easier to clean off. He's making a comment because a lot of the people in New York doing that for Sammy Sosa are black. Okay. I don't know what they're talking about being confused, but that's not important because the end clip is what's important.
Treading on dangerous ground there.
What? I was just asking a question, that's all.
Stereotyping, I think.
What is wrong with stereotyping? I love when people bring that up.
I know.
Why can't we stereotype? Every race stereotypes.
Yeah.
We heard that black guy today at Comedy Central.
I was roaring. It's funny, yeah.
Now, if we used half the words we heard this guy use while he was having a conversation on the phone, we would be killed in a drive-by.
We were sitting up in Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And there's a guy on the phone in the lobby on a cell phone. And he's like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. That's old school, nigga. Come on, man. You come over my crib with me. Oh, we'll hang out, go to old bed. I didn't understand a word he was saying.
Right. But if you imitate him on the radio, next thing you know, you're stereotyping and you're a racist.
Yeah.
Then why'd you do it?
Then why'd you do it?
Why'd
you let him get away with it and say the N-word? Why would you do that?
Yeah. And it wasn't like, what?
And you faced no repercussion for that, so no. That's not true. Everything is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
He starts talking about cancel culture in, 98?
Oh, boy. Yeah. It's very weird to hear Anthony say things like, you just can't say things anymore. And it's the exact same shit people are saying in 2022.
Yeah, back then they didn't call it cancel culture. They called it PC culture.
Yeah. They're speculating that PC culture in 98 means you're gonna get murdered.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like, excuse me?
That's a really weird conclusion to jump to.
Well, honestly, for a white man to be held accountable, I'm sure it feels like murder.
Yeah, it feels like getting shot in a drive-by like Elmo.
Yeah, like Elmo.
Here's an example of the happy marriage that Anthony is a part of.
Oh, no.
This is just one of the examples of the talking about the old ball and chain, the old life at home outside the radio show, and Anthony sounds like he's extremely happy in his married life.
Well, that is the atomic bomb of words to use in an argument.
Yes.
With the girlfriend or wife.
Right.
Because when
there's no turning back.
Comes out, there's no turning back from it. It's it comes out, you know, in the heat of an argument. Usually, I hate to say this as a guy, but it usually comes out very under your breath.
Yeah, you're not really brave enough to fully articulate.
Maybe she's in another room.
You know.
You don't think she hears you, and you go, you. What did you say? And then for that split second, you try to think of a defense. Oh, I could say nothing. I said I didn't say it. I didn't say it. But then you're like, you know something? Yeah, I said it. You're a. Yeah. And if you weren't such a, I wouldn't have called you.
So things are great at home. That they're just screaming, having screaming fights with each other.
Marital bliss.
Yeah, not the funniest. I don't feel like that this clip is really important to play, but Opie goes into talking about how he hates the sound of vacuum cleaners and how it's because it triggers a memory about his mom cleaning. So when someone vacuums in the studio or whatever, he either has to cover his ears or leave the room.
Yeah, if I'm not controlling a vacuum cleaner, I really don't like them.
They are very loud.
Yeah, it's like that. It's the worst.
Yeah.
I hate that.
But it's not so much that. It's directly the relation and the memory of Opie's mom that is really what makes the noise so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony just tries to cover him being like, I don't like the sound either. But he's basically what you were saying. Like, he says that kids all have trauma related to it, but I think it's just he doesn't like the sound. Opie's is more specific.
I feel like a lot of kids do have trauma related to it because things that moms like to do is passive-aggressively clean, where they're just like, I can't believe I'm going to go do the dishes.
Yeah.
I'm going to go vacuum really angrily.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
You can't vacuum not angrily. It's so loud. It's going to sound angry.
Oh. We vacuum not angrily.
Oh, well, I mean, it always sounds angry because the vacuum's so loud.
No. When I vacuum, it sounds like... When someone vacuums angrily, it's like... Like a chainsaw.
Yeah.
They should have that in like a haunted house where there's just a room of like a bunch of people vacuuming.
A bunch of them?
Yeah.
So it's multiple vacuums? Oh, God.
Yeah, okay, imagine this. You're walking in a haunted house and it's like, skeleton, bats. And then you like open a door and it's like, and it's like 7 people who are all vacuuming in like, in staggered things.
Yeah, they're all doing like...
And they all turn to look at you as they're doing it.
Jesus.
Isn't that scary?
That is scary. I don't like that.
And then they all turn it off at the same time.
Ugh. You're just left with your thoughts. And on the morning of October 6th, someone pulls a practical joke at the Today Show. It's the people from the Upright Citizens Brigade, actually, pull a prank. And I'll show you the video of it. Because O&A talk about it a little bit. A caller calls them up to talk to them about it.
Hey, we got a young man here. What's your name?
Alan.
Alan.
Yes.
So, what's the deal?
Well, the deal is I came to New York to raise awareness for little Donnie disease, Magnus oblivio-falcitis, and I also want to propose marriage to a very beautiful woman.
What's her name?
Alan.
No, her name.
Karen.
A little nervous, are you?
Yeah, I am very nervous. Little Donnie disease is very important.
Where's Karen at?
Karen is in Chicago.
Karen, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Karen. How
Karen!
You doing? Hey, back off. We want to work.
I'm sorry.
We want to build this up, Alan. Settle down. How long have you been dating this guy?
Oh,
2.5. Be honest.
Alan.
I'm sorry.
Settle down here. We're not going to do this. Now, settle down. Karen, how long have you been dating?
A couple of years.
Couple of years. All right. He says 2.5. Anyway, he has something he wants to ask you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alan.
Karen?
Yes?
Will you marry me?
Sure.
Yeah! Little Donnie! I love you, Karen!
Love you too!
Karen!
Okie doke, let's go. Let's show you what's going on right now.
You couldn't really see it, but the guy had a dildo. So when
that's why he was jumping so high.
It was flapping against his chest, and that's why Al was like, okay.
Yeah, the thing he was saying, like the raising awareness, it's like, it's about the phallus was the very last little bit. I didn't catch the rest of it, though.
Yeah.
And then the old Al's like, oh, god damn it.
Fuck. God damn it. Did this whole build up. Someone took notice of it in New York and wants to get to the bottom of it and wants to also pull a prank at the Today Show. You won't believe who it is.
Check this out. This morning, Howard Stern on his show played the Al Roker wedding segment, then said, hey, we should do something in front of that window for K-Rock.
Yeah, a lot of people have been calling in about that today.
He's the one saying everyone's copying his show. O&A, you should do mornings. No thanks. No thanks.
Well,
I'm not into mornings.
No, I'm not into mornings either, but I mean, a lot of people have called that, I guess he started talking about the big prank that those guys from Comedy Central pulled.
Yeah.
From the, what is the group again?
Upright Citizens Brigade.
Right, and we had them on the air Friday, and they explained exactly what it went on and the prank and stuff and how they pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Howard's talking about it and trying to get those guys on the air and try to figure out who did it. Well, we already know who did it. We had them on our show.
They do make a good case. Howard's trying to get ahead of it and try to pull a fast one when they've already said that they wanted to do a thing, so...
But, everyone's saying that.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to?
Who wouldn't want to?
Yeah.
Even the Today Show has done bits on their own, pretending that the people outside are doing something, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't there, even very recently, they partnered with the movie Smile.
That's right, yeah.
They're using that shit all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, it's not original to be like, hey, look at the window of anybody that shows up outside the window can be there. And, they have boobs.
I mean, if anything, they should be a little mad with Upright Citizens Brigade because they've made it a point to not talk about wanting to get a woman to flash for a while because they noticed that for a while there, they weren't, they were putting tarps up and so you couldn't see outside the windows because someone tipped them off that O&A were trying to pull a fast when they were going to try to have someone flash. So they're like, well, if we don't talk about it for a while, it'll get their guard down, and then we can do it when they least expect it.
Yeah.
Now the guys from the Upright Citizens Brigade do this, and now all of a sudden their guard's back up.
DEFCON 1 all over again.
Now they're aware of it again.
Just goes to show you. A lot more people listen to him than us. I think that's what that proves.
Obviously, but we already went down that road,
I know.
And we got our prank that we're trying to do at the Today Show. So where did you get that idea from?
It's just frustrating sometimes, Isn't it?
Well, our prank is still, up for grabs. First lady to show her boobs, live on the Today Show will win $1,000. The money sits here.
$1,000.
Every day to my left. There it is, under the glass. First lady to do it will come in here and take that money home with her, so.
Unless the boobs aren't good, if they're not what we like, then, those aren't real boobs. We get to dictate. I would not be surprised if they tried to pull that kind of shit.
Yeah, I think those weren't good enough.
Those boobs weren't good enough. They're barely even B cups. What? Some bullshit like that.
Right.
Gatekeeping tits.
Oh, no. I mean, Opie was doing it just earlier.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We come up with cold, hard cash.
Yeah, well, we have to bribe our listeners. So.
I know. Yeah, that is kind of frustrating, Because he's definitely got more listeners than we do.
Yeah, but
I think the CB radio's got more listeners than we right now.
But we
can't even. How are you going to win that battle?
We're not going to win that battle, but it's just frustrating. We did the whole bit. We did a lot of legwork. We found out who did the prank on the Today Show. We had them in here. We did a whole interview. They said they did it, and now now he's going to get all the credit for it. Great, that's lovely. I'm pretty happy about it. Okay,
just really, really pleased.
No, this is good. I like it.
No, great.
Really, I make $22,000 a year, and he makes $17 million. No, I'm fine with it. Really, that was all right.
I'm pretty sure someone who's a tin tapper, a tin tapper, not a tin knocker, would make more than $22K. I'm gonna say that
he was. Anthony said that he was making 26 or 27. So when they got hired at WAAF, he insisted on getting at least 28.
Yeah, and now you're complaining about getting 22. Fucking quit your job and get a different job then. Quit complaining about your pay. Get a different job then.
I hate to tell you too, but Opie's... No, that's great. He does that a lot. This really just passive-aggressive bullshit.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Another bit he does too, I don't think I have any audio of it, is someone will make a gay joke about him. He'll say, I was making out with him, and Anthony go, oh yeah? What was his name? And no, Opie will do, and I'm so sorry, I have to do an impression, he'll go, ha ha ha, you got me! At least once an episode he'll do that. And it's the worst. I hate it so much.
What the fuck?
Not as much as I hate this impression that Anthony does. That is, I hate to admit, one of the most popular bits on the show, to the point where people will actually call up and say, hey, we haven't heard Anthony do the pork guy bit in days. Pork guy.
Let me guess. This is a guy who loves eating pork so much that when he's eating it, he's like, hum, nom, 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 nom. And that's it.
You think that would go over pretty big with New York?
I think it's funny.
No, unfortunately, that's not it.
Do you think it's funny?
Yeah. Okay. I think it's funnier than this.
Okay, good.
For sure. The pork guy is an impression of the Asian delivery men who ride their bikes around New York City delivering pork.
That's all they deliver.
That's all they do. That is the basis of the bit. And this is a bit that Anthony will do, like, every day. It comes up a lot. I only have this one example, though, because there's no point in playing any other of them. If you've heard it once, you've heard them all. So this is the highly requested pork guy bit.
I too busy deliver pork to get on the radio and say pork. I ride a bicycle down Crowder Street during a lunch hour to deliver fresh, hot tang pong pork on the Mong Tang pork and our favorite Musu Jang Pang pork.
You know, after our Tower Records appearance this past Wednesday, we're walking the streets of Manhattan, and Anthony was doing it so loud, I thought you were going to get punched by the pork guys. Every time we saw one, we're all like cheering Anthony on, going, come on, man, do it. He pedaled by.
Where are you going with that pork?
And I noticed you were braver after dinner, after we had a few cocktails, than before dinner.
Couple of beers, yeah.
Couple of beers, and
then I'm right there.
Hey, Tang, well, give to me your pork.
Just a reminder, tip all your delivery drivers.
Yep.
This season, get some nice, Chinese, Japanese, Thai food, and get a bunch of yummy food. Support Asian workers,
You never know.
Don't be fucking racist.
You never know how many drunk, racist radio hosts will be screaming racist impressions at them.
And, the amount of racism that still goes on toward Asian people and, Pacific Islanders and shit, just let's try to cancel that out as much as we can.
It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
The Tower Records appearance they were talking about here was actually their first time in front of the New York listeners. John Cougar Mellencamp, who at this point was just going by John Mellencamp.
John Cougar Mellencamp's name sounds like a clothing brand.
Yeah, I could see that.
And there would be a lot of leopard print mixed with tartan.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
He was doing an in-store at Target, at Tower Records.
Target! Maybe now these days.
Well, yeah.
The Target in downtown New York City.
Oh, boy. I didn't include any of the audio, but they have a part of it where Anthony does his Andrew Dice Clay impression. And on the radio, it's, Dice bursts into the studio, steals Anthony's microphone, and berates them for a while.
Oh.
On stage, you can't do that because they see you.
Does he just spin around?
I don't know what he does.
Does he do the physical thing where he physically steps into character?
They do imply that he stole his mic from him, which I don't understand how you would do that in person.
He's just like, ugh. Yeah, I did a visual gag where I'm holding the mic to my mouth.
Then your other hand...
Then my other hand is really far off, and then it scoops in and takes it from me.
Yanks it. And the audience is very small, and they don't really get much of a reaction at all. It's really painful. It's very embarrassing.
Love that.
Yeah, love it for him. So the new ratings book is out.
What's it called again?
The Arbitron ratings.
The Arbitron. It just sounds... One, it sounds arbitrary.
Yeah.
And two, it sounds like a joke.
And they're going over where they are now after having been on the station for 4 months.
Okay, now last book we were in 21st place, right, Ant?
Yes.
As a radio station, okay. Got the overall ratings in front of me. Okay. Oof. Okay, we're not in the top 5.
Okay.
Oof.
We got to be in the top 10, right?
No, we're not in the top 10. Going down here. Got to be in the top 20, right?
I would hope so. That leaves us, tied for what we were last time?
Okay, we're not in the top 20.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh, my God. Gotta be a typo. Wait a minute. Oh, my Lord.
Well, I guess we didn't hit number one.
Oh, my God. What happened?
Well, look at that.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Last place.
We're in last place.
All right.
We are in last place, everyone.
All right.
We are in last place. We went from 21st place to 24th place.
Wow.
There are stations on this list that are beating us that I've never heard of. I was born and raised on Long Island, born in Queens, actually, and there are radio stations here that I've never heard of. Like, what's WCAA?
Never heard of it.
What is WADO? Never heard of it.
The station, I think the manager of sales comes in at one point and probably wishes he hadn't.
Come on in, Gary. We're celebrating.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Gary.
This ought to be easy to sell, huh?
Yeah, we got Gary Blum in. He's the sales guy. He has to sell these ratings. So how do you feel today?
So for the people listening, he'll probably be calling you directly. He could do that.
Suburban stations yet, so
yeah.
Still got a ways to go.
All right. Gary, I guess, doesn't know how to use a microphone, but that's okay. Doesn't matter because no one's listening.
Doesn't matter.
Like, how do they decide on ratings? How do they decide on, like, who gets placed where?
If I understand it correctly, I think it works the same way Nielsen ratings used to work, where they would send you out a book, and you would get a book in the mail, and you would fill out what you listened to for how long on what days, and then you would send it back to them.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, very,
easily to manipulate.
Yeah, not the most accurate, not the most reliable. Things aren't great. They end up throwing a loser party for the rest of the day, getting
for the rest
people...
of their lives.
They ask people to come in and perform. They have some desserts brought in. And, I mean, I guess it helped because it actually got wrote up in the papers. Like, Opie and Anthony throw loser party.
Pity party.
Yeah. So they tried to spin it a little bit of like, hey, you know... And I will give him this, and I understand it, that Opie says that he much rather be the underdog. Yeah, because there's no way to go but up. So naturally, of course you'd want to be in that position. Yeah. It's like what we were talking about with like Alex Jones, where of course you want to be behind the 8 ball so you could be the oppressed. It's easier that way to be fighting outward than, you know, you're always going to be punching up. You know? I was telling you that I was trying to look through the book, through the years they were there. O&A do eventually get ratings. Up to this point, they're not in the top 10 for their time slot. WNEW doesn't ever get higher than a 21.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It does get harder, seeing as how, right now, they're a classic rock radio station primarily that plays some new alternative rock. Not much. They went from working at WAAF, where they were playing nothing but new alternative rock, local acts that I'd never heard of, but I guess were big in Boston.
Yeah.
To now, half the songs they play are like 70s songs, and the other ones are like, a big one was Heroes by the Wallflowers from the Godzilla soundtrack, or Matchbox 20, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
K-Rock is an alternative station, the station that Howard's at. So they're kind of dominating that. Other stations that are doing really well are oldie stations, a lot of Spanish stations. But eventually they switched to a strictly talk station in 99, and it doesn't help them any. They never get any higher. Some of the shows themselves do get ratings, but the station as a whole doesn't.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed that's very interesting is that K-Rock is consistently number 1 in mornings with Howard. For the rest of the time slots of the day, not even in the top 10. I guess Howard was big enough of a name that they didn't need other people to really... He just carry the station. They carried the station in their primetime slot. They were trying to get some other names in there, but none of them ever really did anything.
Mm-hmm.
I included this woman who calls up say that O&A are not her brand of humor, and that she doesn't really get the show, and also criticizes Opie's grammar at some points because it's atrocious, and says that there's some really little kids listening, like young kids listening, and you're setting a bad example. Specifically, just the grammar. Yeah.
Wow.
The reason I include this is because of how civil this call goes. It is interesting to me that the callers to the show at this point are almost 50-50 men and women.
Which is unlikely. That's not reflective of their demographic, I bet.
No.
If you look at the Arbitron...
Yeah, at least not where it will eventually go. Once you get into, like, the XM days, you very rarely ever hear a woman call up.
Yeah.
Because they've skewed their content to be as sexist as it eventually gets, to where no woman would want to call up.
Unless she's, like, pandering to men or something.
Yeah, she's one of the good ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the way this phone call goes, it's very interesting. That's why I wanted to include it. Yeah. And, we can see where it goes.
What makes you laugh?
I'm into wordplay. What makes me laugh? I don't know. Maybe I have a warped sense of humor. But, discussing other people's sexual problems, that I don't find that funny.
All right, then we'll discuss yours.
I don't find those funny either.
No?
No.
Well, we're just trying to make people laugh on the way home.
I understand that. I mean,
honestly, I'll tell everyone out there, don't take us serious.
I hear you, and I understand that a lot of times you do it just for the argumentative state.
Well,
no, we don't.
Yeah, you do.
I think that people just don't want to, forgot how to laugh.
I think that they're finding it harder and harder to find things funny, and that what they're finding funny truly isn't funny. It's sad.
Well, know why? Because society has told everyone, that it's not funny to make fun of other groups or situations or the president or the mayor.
Society has told us that it's not funny to make fun of, like, marginalized groups. No. Society is the one told you it was funny.
Yeah. The marginalized groups are telling you, please stop making fun of us.
Yeah, like, what are y'all talking about? What do you think? What?
Yeah, again, what societal repercussions have you noticed?
And I feel like this sort of touches on the concept of, like, the canon of comedy, which similar to the canon of beauty, where it's like, oh, the canon of beauty in the 90s used to be extremely thin and, no curves and blah, 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 blah. But now the canon of beauty is blah, blah, blah. It's curves and blah, blah, blah. And, people can't wrap their head around that being true for comedy, too. Yeah. Where it's like, well, no, we're past that now. We're thinking of other things that are funny that don't, like, need a victim.
Yeah.
We should all lighten up and laugh at ourselves a little bit.
Of course we should. I don't disagree with you, and I'll be the first one to laugh at myself. But to poke fun at people that's hurtful, that's not funny.
That's the way comedy's been for years. If you look at Lenny Bruce, back in the 60s and the 50s, that was all taboo stuff that seems...
Going backward in comedy history, think about the oldest comedy you can think of.
Right, yeah.
What was it?
Like minstrel shows and shit?
Yeah, I guess that was... But was that supposed to be... Yeah, a lot of it was supposed to be funny. Some of it was supposed to just be, like, performance.
Yeah, I think it's inherently supposed to be funny. Yeah.
What I was thinking of was, just as an example of not all comedy has to have a victim, just fucking, like, pratfalls, Three Stooges.
Oh, yeah, pratfalls, sure.
You know what I mean? Or Punching Up with, like, Charlie Chaplin, like...
It was universally funny that everyone, could look at it and identify, oh, this is funny.
Like, haha, fell down. Haha.
And I think it's unfair to compare yourselves to jerk-offs doing fucking drive time radio to someone like Lenny Bruce.
Right?
And it's like, you're not doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, what Lenny was doing on stage for the time was controversial. That's right. Like, in that instance, yeah, you're correct. What you're doing now is controversial. But it's not the same thing.
Not the same.
That was all taboo stuff that seems... really commonplace and it seems like nothing today.
Yeah, and actually I think in general comedy hurts. I think every time you make someone laugh, it hits a sensitive spot with someone else.
Gotta have a victim.
What he was saying on stage, what Lenny Bruce was saying back in the 50s and 60s is commonplace now. Which implies that Anthony believes what he's saying in 40 to 50 years will be commonplace. So therefore, it should be okay.
He's not acknowledging the fact that his views are all very archaic.
After the phone call, this is just O&A reflecting on the phone call, and again, this just doesn't match to how they will eventually sound either.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't rip her apart or anything.
We don't need to rip every person apart that, disagrees with us.
Well, that's what I mean.
But every once in a while, it's just fun to rip someone a new a-hole.
And she handled it nicely.
Very good.
It wasn't one of those situations where we had to lay into somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll save that for the next step.
So we don't like pulling that out.
No.
We don't like taking the muzzles off sometimes and drawing blood, but damn it, if we have to,
we will.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're so vicious. You're
Yeah,
not just like some little basement dwellers that
Listen to 'em.
that record in your fucking basement, and you like fucking living with each other's moms and like.
I wanted to include the fact that Anthony was living out of his car. To see if that at all reflected how minimal his living in his giant mansion was. If he's used to living out of a car, now he's living in a mansion, and he's not furnishing it, because he's not used to it, obviously.
I just don't understand why you would have a mansion, period.
Yeah, why do you think you would
live in
need
a
house
scarcity mindset?
Yeah, why would you need a house that big?
Yeah.
Are you going to have a fuck ton of people over all the time?
Oh, no, you don't like that?
It seems like you don't like that. Yeah, it seems like you're just a person who likes to sit at home and play video games and not talk to people.
Oh, you want a big space so you can have all of your things in it? That makes sense. Oh, no, you don't like things?
You don't like things? Oh.
Okay, this sounds like an impulse buy.
Yeah,
This sounds like an ADHD hobby where you're like, I'm going to take up knitting. Yeah, I'm going to take up knitting. Spends $3,000 on knitting supplies. 2 months later. Yeah, I'll get back to it.
There is a period in the XM days where he does start buying drones.
Oh, they're going to say he starts knitting.
No.
I was like, oh, wholesome, Anthony.
Yeah, no. Well, it's wholesome in its own right.
It's as wholesome as he'll get.
He goes outside and he flies a drone around. I don't think he keeps it up for very long.
Nobody does.
No.
Anybody...
It was interesting at first, but he'd much rather collect guns.
He reminds me more and more of my brother.
It does go back to not having a childhood, though.
Yep.
Anthony.
Doesn't everything, though?
Yeah.
It's a ripple effect. People who don't have childhoods affect other people, and then it's just like, well, great. Wish you would have had a childhood.
Yeah.
Wish you would have had a good childhood.
Yeah. The last clip I have here for this episode is interesting for a couple reasons. So, O&A found out that their boss has a box on his desk of cassette tapes from people who host radio shows in other markets trying to get Opie and Anthony's jobs. Because they assume that they're not going to last very long, so they're sending their audition tapes for the boss to listen to for consideration in case O&A ever get fired.
So they play them on the air.
They do play a couple of them. Now, the reason I included this is because this sounds very much like a bit they eventually do.
Yeah.
In the XM days, they would do a bit called Jocktober, which is funny because they're doing this on October 27th.
I'm sitting here like, Jocktober sounds way more fun than it actually is.
Jocktober...
It sounds like people in jock straps.
Jocktober was one of my favorite bits in the sense that people from around the country would recommend radio shows from where they live and say, hey, O&A, listen to this show and goof on them.
I see. Now,
if that's where the bit ended, I think that'd be a pretty fun bit. You play the clips from the show, you make fun of them if you think their show's corny or whatever. That's fine. What would normally happen was they would then send their audience to harass them on the Facebook page, call in.
Go talk shit about them.
They would end up posting racist pictures and posts on their Facebook page to where the page would have to be locked for a couple days. It would just create a big fucking headache for the radio station that would have no idea where the assault and hatred would be coming from.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's where the joke sucks. So in this instance, they decide to play a bit and they goof on it a little bit.
Okay.
Let's give them a listen.
So let's take a listen to Styx Franklin. This guy wants our jobs.
All right.
Absolute. That's Moby with the James Bond theme. I am Styx Franklin. This is Absolute Chaos. I am...
Okay, we know already he's what they call a yuckster.
In the biz, right?
Yeah, that's the guys that plug up their voices and talk like this. Hey, everybody. Hey, it's Styx Franklin with ya.
No, I am
Styx Franklin.
They're so scared.
Yeah, why would you do all this if you didn't think, oh, the ratings book just came out.
They're so fucking scared.
We were hired to help this radio station. We dipped 3 spots. we could potentially be hurting this station. Uh-oh. This station's never had an edgy show ever, and all these people doing wholesome radio shows that wouldn't make waves or get into fights with other DJs are trying to gun for this spot and might get it.
Like, think about it these days when you talk about wholesome, like, radio, wholesome podcasts, because radio is podcasts now.
Yeah.
Like, name 5 edgy podcasts.
Well, I guess Steven Crowder, Joe Rogan would count. Like Ben Shapiro or Tim Pool or Charlie Kirk, but they're not edgy.
Yeah, they're like, they don't think they're edgy. But see, people would listen to them thinking they're edgy.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're saying a bunch of racist shit. People would register that as edgy.
Yeah.
But they're just speaking their minds, man.
But my point is, name the same amount of wholesome podcasts.
Oh, yeah, there's a million.
There's so many wholesome podcasts.
Yeah.
Even true crime podcasts can be wholesome in terms of, like, the hosts.
Edgy's out.
Edgy's cringo.
Edgy, sort of cringe.
Sort of cringe.
You know, I guess the station thought it was better than everybody auditioning because O&A don't get fired until 2002.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I mean, it's easier to just stick with what you got than, like, renegotiate and, like, reintroduce, because introducing new people is just as jarring as introducing new bad people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, new person, but I just got used to that block of time. That's when I do my fucking exercising or whatever. And now I have to listen to these new guys and, like, try to like them. Ugh.
Here's where we're stopping for this week. And I think this is a really good place to stop because from here, things start to pick up speed pretty quickly. O&A stop playing nice with the other DJs.
Oh.
And they take a very firm stand of, we were hired to change this station. We're going to actively try to do that more forcefully. The nice guy act, if you could call what they're doing up to this point a nice guy act, it's over.
No, the thing that's going to happen, I bet, is they're turning on a bad guy act.
There is one clip of Opie doing what I could only refer to as an Alex Jones fake yell. It's really embarrassing. But yeah, we have all that to listen to.
Gross.
Yeah, next time I think it gets a little more interesting.
A little bit different. This year.
But that wraps it up for this week's episode of O&A Detox. We hope you enjoyed it and enjoyed what we brought to the table here. If you have any comments about the show or what you heard this week
or what were your nicknames in school?
When your classmates cornered you in 7th grade math class and forced you to have a nickname, what did they ultimately come up with?
Yeah, what did you have to stick with for the next 30 years of your life?
Yeah, what did you decide to
70
stick
years
with?
of your life.
Well, yeah, he's still using it. Even on YouTube when he doesn't have to. It's still Opie Radio. If you have any thoughts on the show and want to let us know, or questions, more than happy to answer any of those. And we will be back next time with the conclusion of 1998 and some of 1999.
Hey, all right, it's Opie. Boo, boo, boo. I don't know.
The hell
what
was
you're
that?
talking about. A mating call. What is that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you had your cute little sucky show until I came on.
I'm better than ever because I discovered Anthony. He was drunk on a corner somewhere and he needed a job, so I brought him along.
Hey, thanks.